Star Wars 7x7, episode 2646. Happy 1st of October to you. We are going to take a break from our look at Star Wars Visions and check in on what is happening in the world of Star Wars storytelling for the month of October. Punch it. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy, and thank you so much for joining me for it. So if you haven't been around for one of these episodes, or if you have been and you'd like the refresher, generally speaking what happens is we cover 12 different categories related to Star Wars storytelling. They include movies, live action, animation, books, audiobooks, short stories, comics, experiential, which means theme parks and that sort of thing, virtual reality, video games, streaming, and merchandise. Let's start off with movies and say that there's really not much to tell in that regard because there's been precious little that's been revealed about the happenings behind Rogue Squadron. But if we look at what was happening with The Force Awakens in a similar time frame, that kind of gives us an idea. So in October of 2013, which would be the month comparatively for where we're at right now with Rogue Squadron, that was actually the month that Michael Arndt, who was the first screenwriter hired for working on The Force Awakens, that was when he left the production. And it was at that point that Larry Kasdan took over the writing duties along with J.J. Abrams, and they hammered out the rest of the script. So we don't have that same situation with Rogue Squadron because apparently it is pretty much done by this point. And so major departments, as we discussed last month, those folks should have been hired. The heads of those departments should have been hired. And pre-production should be going strong, like art concepts and that sort of thing. That should be really progressing very strongly. But in particular, now that they probably have a completed script, we don't have official confirmation for it, but last time we heard anything about the script, it seemed like they were nearly done. So because of that, the art department should be working specifically on concepts that are related to the script, though it's possible that not every element of what's in the script has been officially approved by all the powers that be. Apparently at this same similar time frame, if you will, for the Force Awakens production, there was still a lot about Kylo Ren that wasn't set in stone at that point. So yeah, there could still be a lot of things in flux, but they should be getting to, the home stretch of the end of pre-production and starting to talk about when principal photography is going to happen next year. All right, let's talk live action series. So Book of Boba Fett is up first, coming out in December, and that means they should be in post-production on it right now, and scoring should be either happening or about to happen. There was a rumor, but not officially confirmed yet, that Ludwig Göransson is going to be doing the scoring for the Book of Boba Fett as well. It'll be really cool to get confirmation on that, of course, but that sounds really exciting. And then Kenobi and Andor have both apparently finished principal photography and should be heading into post-production now, and still standing by that whole notion of Kenobi being the one to debut next on Disney Plus because post-production is going to be a lot quicker with 6 episodes compared to 12 for Andor. And although I don't think there's been an official announcement for this, and I've been looking for it, supposedly Mandalorian Season 3 was supposed to start filming in September, and if it didn't actually, then it's gonna start filming this month for sure. Beyond that, well, we know from earlier interviews that there's a writer's room working for Leslie Headland's series, The Acolyte, the High Republic series, and we know Justin Simien is attached to a Lando series, but we haven't heard anything else beyond that. And then, of course, there's the Ahsoka series, about which we know nothing at all at this point either. If they do another Disney Investor Day situation in December like they did last year, then maybe we'll get an update on those particular series. That would certainly be nice. The December thing isn't necessarily a guaranteed thing anyway, and I know we're talking a couple months out now, but the fact that it was in December was perhaps unusual because in the previous year it had been in April of 2019, but then, there's the whole pandemic thing, so I don't know if it's going to become a December tradition or if they're going to move it back into April. We will have to see what we see with that. As for animation, so Bad Batch Season 2 is in production, and Michelle Ong, who does the voice of Omega, posted a photo on her Instagram recently with, stuff in the background of the Bad Batch, talking about how she was doing voice work for Season 2. So yeah, it's on. We don't have a release date yet, and I talked about potential release dates recently, but hadn't talked about the Bad Batch. And what I said on Twitter a couple of days ago is that, my thinking is that the Kenobi series will debut and be done before we get to Celebration Anaheim in May of 2022, and we will get some preview episodes of the Bad Batch Season 2 at Celebration Anaheim, and that it will probably debut immediately after that. So I'm expecting Bad Batch Season 2 to debut in June of 2022. All right, let's move on to books. There are 3 kids books and 1 adult book coming out in the month of October. The adult book is Ronin, the Star Wars Visions novel, so that is coming out on October 12th. And then on the kids side of things, there's a Vader Family Sith Miss by Jeffrey Brown of Vader and Son and Vader's Little Princess fame, and the first run of the Jedi Academy books. And then there's a Showdown at the Fair High Republic book, which is written by George Mann. And then the last one is a Secrets of the Sith book, which is from Inside Editions. They do really nice books, but this one is a kids book at 32 pages, and it's a reference book told in universe from the perspective of Emperor Palpatine about famous Sith and Sith secrets, as the title implies. As for audiobooks, I hadn't seen an announcement for this, so I had to go looking, but there is in fact an audiobook version of Ronin coming out on the same day as the novel is being released, October 12th, and it's being narrated by Joel De La Fuente, first time Star Wars narrator as far as I can tell, and it's going to be a 14-hour narration, unabridged naturally, as these things tend to be. Moving on to comic books, there's always a load of comic books, and this month is no exception. 14 different issues are coming out. For the High Republic, there are 4 issues coming out. High Republic 10, High Republic Adventures 9, and then High Republic Trail of Shadows, the limited series from Daniel Jose Older, the noir story set in the High Republic, that debuts this month with issue 1. And then the Monster of Temple Peak series from Kevin Scott continues with issue 3. And over in the non-High Republic story situation, well, the whole War of the Bounty Hunters thing is still going on and crossing over into other titles. So Star Wars 18, Darth Vader 17, Bounty Hunter 17, Dr. Aphra 15, and then the actual War of the Bounty Hunters series is issue 5, I believe it is. There's a one-shot focused on IG-88 that's coming out this month. And from IDW for Star Wars Adventures, issue 11 is coming out, and then the annual Vader's Castle scary stuff is coming too. Ghosts of Vader's Castle is actually dropping issues 3, 4, and 5 in the month of October. For short stories, we are getting Star Wars Insider Magazine number 206 late this month. It's supposed to be on newsstands on October 27th, and that is going to include the second half of Past Mistakes, High Republic short story from Kevin Scott. We're not expecting to get anything related to virtual reality or video games this month necessarily, because the release of Last Call from Tales for the Galaxy's Edge, that already happened, so that should be a relatively quiet scenario. And video games, same kind of thing, unless we get updates on Star Wars Hunters, and one specifically in 2022 it might be coming out. But yeah, not expecting any big news on either of those fronts. As for merchandise, not really expecting anything out of that either. And just as the quick refresher, usually the product descriptions for some things like action figures and vehicles and whatnot will share information about characters and sometimes about narrative storytelling and plot points and character arcs and that sort of thing. So that's why we keep an eye on that. I think, Book of Boba Fett would be the next near thing for any toys to be coming out where we'd get new information. But yeah, if there are Book of Boba Fett toys in the offing, they're probably sitting on a container ship hanging outside the port of Los Angeles, and we're not going to see them for a while. Then there's the experiential category, and there is movement happening here. The Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel has an official opening date. It's March 1st of 2022, and this month you're going to be able to book your reservations for it. And apparently, I guess it's Disney Pass holders and Disney Vacation Club members and Disney Visa card holders are going to get the first opportunity to book it, but then public booking opens on October 28th. And last but not least is the streaming category. So there was a surprise in September with Galaxy of Sounds, which was a 7-episode series of ambient sounds, which is really cool, and we'll talk about it at a later episode. There, I think, 7 episodes between 7 and 9 minutes each with different themes and so forth. And the one thing we know about is happening today. Lego Star Wars Terrifying Tales is debuting today on Disney+. And if you haven't heard the description about this, here we go. After crash landing on Mustafar, Poe Dameron and BB-8 visit Castle Vader, the galaxy's, quote, first all-inclusive Sith-inspired luxury resort. Oh boy. Darth Vader's servant Vene regales his guests with 3 Sith-inspired stories. The Lost Boy, which is the story of how a young Ben Solo first meets Ren and his Knights of Ren. The Dueling Monstrosities, which imagines how Darth Maul and General Grievous were reborn. And The Wookiee's Paw, which gives a look at what might have been if all of Luke Skywalker's greatest wishes were immediately granted. And that Lost Boy one sounds kind of interesting, especially because, of course, there was that whole Rise of Kylo Ren 4-issue limited series that came out around the time of the Rise of Skywalker, and it tells that story to some degree. So, yeah, we'll see how things play out with that one for sure. And so there you go. That's everything that we know of so far that's happening in the galaxy of Star Wars storytelling for the month of October 2021. And if anything else breaks news-wise, then obviously we'll be covering it here on the show too. And so that's going to do it for this episode of the show. It just remains for me to say thank you so much for joining me for it as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited, or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2021 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.